Hello, in this video we will be learning how to use some of the core modelling tools in Vectorworks. That is the solids modelling tools. They're actually some of the most important tools for modelling in Vectorworks, it being a solids modelling based software, and they're not immediately apparent where they are and how to use them. So in this video we're going to look at the tools, show you where to find them, go through each one in an abstract way, and hopefully by the end of the video you'll have a good idea of how to use them and start making complex shapes in no time. For new viewers, this is actually part 3 in an ongoing series. If you'd like to watch from the beginning, there is a link in the top corner of the screen. For returning viewers, welcome back. Thank you very much for your patience. These videos do take a little while to edit, so I do apologise for the delay. My name is Greg Hewitt. I am a set designer and art director working in television. I've worked on numerous television shows, some of which you may or may not have heard of. I use Vectorworks all the time, and I'm making this series of tutorials to help share a little bit of that knowledge. We are learning each tool in quite an abstract manner at first so that we can then work out how to use them practically, so that when it comes round to it, you will find 3D modelling very easy indeed. By the end of this series, we want to model something a little bit exciting, so we're going to have a go at modelling the space with the fire exit outside of my apartment, and try not to dox myself. So let's get into the video. This is 3D modelling in Vectorworks Part 3, Solids Tools. Now we're going to seamlessly transition to the main recording. So like I said earlier, Vectorworks is primarily a solids-based 3D modeler. What this means is you have three-dimensional volumes, usually basic 3D shapes, sometimes not so basic 3D shapes, that you either combine by adding them together or subtracting them or intersecting them, overlaying them on top of each other, and this will be how you make your more complex shapes a lot of the time. So to explain how these tools work, we're going to start an exercise that involves a row of cubes and a row of spheres, and we're going to try all of these solids tools to see what they do. Now to set this exercise up initially, we're going to draw our old friend, the 1 meter cube. So remember, we need to tap 4 on the keyboard. This will put us into the square tool. So we want to type in 1000, tab 1000, enter, tap that twice. Hopefully you will have the push tool mode on your square tool enabled, which will mean you can automatically click your square and move it upwards and type in 1000 again, and you end up with a meter square. Now if you don't have that mode enabled, it's fine, you can just use the push tool to do exactly the same thing. It just saves you a bit of time. Now we have our square. We want to go back to the select tool to select it, and we want to make a row of evenly spaced squares. So to do that, we're going to select our cube and we're going to select the Move by Point tool. We're going to set it to Move and Duplicate mode. And we want to make 4 cubes in total, so we want 3 duplicates. So we set that to 3, and then we click at the bottom corner of our cube and move it in the direction we want to duplicate them in, and type 2000. And what we have there is a row of perfectly spaced cubes that are 1 meter apart from each other, because I've moved it a meter, the width of the cube, and another meter to give us that gap. So next I'm going to use the sphere tool. I'm going to make a sphere on the top corner of one of our cubes. Remember to make sure that it's set to auto plane while doing this, so you're not stuck on the ground plane. This means that you can then draw your sphere from the top corner of your cube. I'm going to give our sphere a radius of 500 mil. This means that we have 1 meter wide cubes and 1 meter wide spheres. So then we want to duplicate our spheres out just like our cubes, and then we have a row of these cubes that have a sphere overlaying the top corner, if that makes sense. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look and show you where these tools are. So the tools in question are in the model drop down menu. They're also in the right click menu if you happen to have 2 solids selected. And the tools are Add Solids, Subtract Solids, Intersect Solids and Section Solids. So firstly, if we select our first cube and our first sphere and we go to the drop down menu and we click Add Solids, what that does is it combines those shapes together into one shape. What you might spot inside the sphere is it's got rid of that corner where the cube was inside the sphere. It is simply one item without any internal geometry. So very simply, Add Solids simply adds 2 solid shapes together. So the next tool is the Subtract tool. Very similarly, we'll select the next sphere and the next cube. We will right click and click on Subtract Solids. This will bring up a little box, and a bit like when we're extruding, you want to select which item you are subtracting from. So basically which object will be remaining when you do the subtraction. The object highlighted in red will be the object that's left over after the subtraction is done. What that means is if we click OK, we end up with a cube with a sort of bit of sphere cut out of the corner. It's getting interesting. Now, if we did that the other way round and we highlighted the sphere, we'd end up with a sphere with a bit of cube cut out of the corner. This is a handy thing to keep in mind if you are making something with details hollowed out of it. If you want to make a fluted Roman column with flutes, which are the little sort of divots that are cut out the side, that's how you would do it. You would cut it out using a rounded end cylinder. So another thing this dialog box will ask you while you're subtracting objects is if you'd like to retain the subtracting object. What this means is the object that you're subtracting from the other will remain there, and you'll end up with two interlocking parts. To demonstrate this, I've done a little simple jigsaw puzzle piece. You subtract one from the other, and you retain that original part, and the other has a perfectly cut out hole where that jigsaw piece would slot into. So this could be very useful if you're modelling some kind of mechanical contraption with interlocking parts, or if you are making a piece of furniture that will interlock as a flat pack unit. So next one we're going to have a look at is the Intersect Solids tool. So we will go and select our next pair of primitives, our sphere and our cube, and we will right click and click Intersect Solids. Now what this will do is it will leave behind only the area, or only the volume, where both of your shapes have overlapped or intersected. This can actually be very useful if you're wanting to put, for instance, a slightly domed top onto something. If you noticed on British style post boxes, they have that slightly domed top. If you're wondering how you would do something like that, you would simply make your cylindrical shape with all sort of details on it with an excess at the top, and then you'd overlay a sphere where you want that to cut off the lid off the top of your cylinder shape, and you would use an intersect command, and that will give you that nice slightly domed shape at the top of your postbox or whatever you're modelling. Another thing you might use the intersect tool for is making a pyramid like this. The way that I would have done this is I've made two triangular extrusions. So I've simply made a triangle, extruded it out, and I duplicated it, laid it over the top of itself, turned to 90 degrees, and then I did an intersect command on that, and that resulted in a pyramid shape. And the next and final tool we're going to use in the sort of basic solids commands is the section tool. Now the section tool works slightly differently to the rest of them because to make it work you need to have a flat plane, and what that's going to do is it's going to slice through your objects. So before I even started, I've taken our cube and our sphere and I've simply added them together using the add solids command. So much like we had before, we've got our solid shape. Then what we need to do is we need to draw a rectangle, which is going to be our cut plane, if that makes sense. And then what we want to do is we want to move that. I'm actually going to move that to the center of where the cube sits. I'm actually going to move that just slightly further up so it cuts through a bit of the sphere as well to demonstrate. So before we slice through our shape with this rectangle, it won't let us simply do that. We need to convert it to a NURBS surface. Now I'm not going to get into what NURBS surfaces are just yet. We'll have that later in the video. However, the way we do that is when we go to the 3D Power Pack, which is in the Model drop-down menu. Click that and click Create Surface from Curves. Click on that. My rectangle is now not white, it is a sort of grey colour. It changes with the shading. So now that is a NURBS surface. This will allow us to use that as a slice to cut through our shape. So with our rectangle, which is now a NURBS surface selected, and our shape, I'm going to right click and select Section Solids. So we're going to get this dialog box here which asks us which item we're going to use as our cut plane. So if we cycle through to the point where our rectangle is highlighted in red, I'm going to deselect this box here so we don't retain the sectioning object and click OK. And what that has done is it's sliced through the object and it's cut off the object in the foreground here. Now, what we can do, if I wanted to slice it the other way, if I wanted to keep the other side and lose that side, you can click up here in the right, the reverse direction button, and that will flick between the two different sides depending on how you want to slice it. Now, that was quite long-winded. There's actually a quicker way of doing this, and that's simply using the split tool. So rather than making a rectangle and making sure it's in the right place and turning it to a NURBS curve and all that, what you can actually do is, I'm going to get rid of that rectangle. I'm going to go to Plan View. I'm going to select the Split tool, which is L on the keyboard. I'm going to make sure that it's in line trim mode and it only slices through selected object. So I'm going to select our object. If I slice through our object, and it will then, the next click will ask you which way you want your slice to work. You have the arrow pointing at the side that you want to keep, click again, and it has done exactly the same thing and given you exactly the same result and made you a solid section to work with there. So if you ever want to just slice something to make a nice sort of finished edge of something, that's how you do it with the Section Solids tool. Also, much more quicker to use the scalpel tool. So I thought I'd just show you both options there. So in a nutshell, they are the solids tools, which are the core basis of how 3D modeling in Vectorworks works. So what's quite cool about these solids tools is it retains the memory of what you've done to get to this stage. So you can go back and edit what you've done to make this shape. If you wanted, for instance, to cut more out of this cube that we've made using the subtraction tool, I can double click on it with the select tool, go to edit solid. If I select the sphere, and if I want to make that sphere bigger, I can actually just go up here to the top right and change the radius. So I want it to now be 750mm radius. So it's a larger sphere. If I go to the top right again and click Exit Solid Subtraction, you'll see that I've now cut more out of that sphere than I had done before. So what this allows you to do is go back and edit on a fundamental level what you've modelled. So if you get asked to make changes, you are able to go back and change your model in a fundamental way a few steps back without having to do everything again from scratch. It keeps up a level of editability, which means that you can make changes on the fly, which is quite cool. And this applies to the solid modelling and also other tools that we're going to be using over the course of this video, so I'll remind you about this. But yes, if you want to change what you've done to make different shapes, you can simply double click and go to Edit Solid, and that will allow you to edit what you've done. So that's also counts for this section solid here. So what I can do is it retains this rectangle. Remember our rectangle friend that we use as a slice tool. If you then go into plan view, you can move it up or down depending on where you want it to be sliced. So yeah, keep that in mind when you're modelling. So this is what is known in the industry as a non-destructive workflow. It means that when you are making something, you are keeping it as editable as possible so that you can change it later, because people like changing stuff. And if you're modelling in a way that is destructive, it means that everything that you're doing is like a permanent action on your model, which leads you to situations where you're going to find it a struggle to edit it. The way around that a lot of the time is you keep copies of what you're doing at various steps, so you can always go back. But with this, you don't have to do that. Okay, so those are our solids tools demonstrated in a kind of abstract way. So to demonstrate these tools in a slightly more real-world context, I've made a little flagpole holder thing here. Now the flag itself we'll do a little bit later. That's what's called a NURB surface in a later chapter. But we're going to make this sort of fixture that holds the flag onto the wall that you will see everywhere. You'll see them outside of pubs, you'll see them outside of government buildings or schools or whatever. So the first thing I would do is make the base plate. That is a simple rectangle with rounded corners. I've extruded that out to a thickness of roughly 6mm. So then I've made some simple cylinders that are about 6mm wide, and I've placed one at one corner of our rectangular plate, and then I use the mirror tool to duplicate that onto the other side, and then select both of those and duplicate that the other way, so we have one cylinder in each corner. Then I selected all of those and the base plate and did a subtract solid command. So what that does is it subtracts those cylinders out of that base plate to drill holes in it. So the next thing I need to do is make a sort of tube, a cylindrical tube that pokes out the front of this base plate at an angle. So quite simply, I made a circle, hollowed out the middle of it using the polygon fill tool. So I made one circle and then a smaller circle inside it, use the polygon fill tool, and then delete the initial circles that I've made. So then I extrude this hollow circle out by about 140mm just to give it enough space to put a flagpole inside, and then for good measure I put a cylinder directly inside that to be our actual flagpole. So then we'll add the flagpole and this little tube holder piece together into one solid addition, and then we'll position it in the middle of the base plate and rotate it by 30 degrees so it's pointing upwards, as flags tend to do. So then we'll add that onto the base plate, and we've got one solid item that we've made using the solid tools, which is great. However, we do have our cylinder is poking out the back of that base plate. So we'll look at it in profile view and we'll slice it using the split tool, and that will get rid of that protruding piece of cylinder at the back. And then we have a nice, clean and tidy flagpole holder that you can go in and you can edit it. So if I wanted to go in and move the position of where the actual tube is mounted onto the base plate, I can do that. I can go in and I can change the size of the screw holes. I can change the thickness of that base plate. I can do a lot of things simply by selecting it and double clicking and going into edit solid modes. So remember, it's sort of a memory stack. So every move that you've done stacks in the order that you've done it. So if you want to go back all the way to the beginning, you have to double click all the way through to that initial shape that you've made the base plate from. And look at that, we have a flagpole, and we'll do the flags themselves in a little bit. So whenever you're designing anything as simple as a flagpole holder all the way up to doing an entire train carriage, having the ability to edit things as you go along and go back and change things is invaluable, because it will cut down your... It's really raining outside. British weather's mental. It's been a heat wave this week and now it's it down. This is July. It was 30 degrees earlier. So yeah, having the ability to change things as you go along is crucial, really. In the modern design world, things change all the time. You get clients going back with changes. You might have another department need to change something because your design is conflicting with something that they need to access. So being able to go in and change things as you go is a real big benefit. So in a nutshell, that is the basics of solid-based modeling. You simply take some basic shapes such as cubes, cylinders, spheres, you name it, and you combine them in ways to make more complex shapes. And hopefully what I've done there is explain to you the basics of it and how it can be useful in making some items for your design. The majority of modelling in Vectorworks is based on this system, so hopefully that's given you an overview of the basis of it. We'll go into a little bit more detail later, but the next thing we're going to talk about is duplication. And that's it for this video. I do hope that you found that useful in learning the solid tools, and that will help you develop your 3D skills a lot more effectively now. And like I just said, the next video will be focusing on duplication. So repetition is everywhere in design, and once you can do it effectively, you can get yourself some nice, satisfying, repeating patterns in things very easily, as long as you know where the tools are. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, follow. This has been the Set Design channel. I'm Greg Hewitt. Goodbye.